everyone, Willa here from Riverfront Federal Credit Union with the latest news and insights from the current. We have an interesting guest joining us today. Alice Moyer is the Executive Director of Little Acts of Love, and she sat down to chat with our own Tony D. Olivero. Over to you, Tony.
We're here today with Alice Moyer, who happens to be the Executive Director of Little Acts of Love. Alice and her co-founder, Tom Wirt, founded Little Acts of Love good 10 years ago, which assists elderly and disabled and at-risk homeowners to obtain necessary home repairs needed to keep them safe and sound in their house. Thank you for being here. Thank you for chatting with us. Help us paint a picture. How did this all get started?
Well, as you said, 10 years ago, a group of 12 of us came together and we sat at a table, and Tom and I proposed that while many of our youth groups in our communities are going elsewhere to serve other areas, whether it would be Pittsburgh, where they have a wonderful program out there which we modeled from, where they bring the youth in and the kids come spend the week, they go out and help. Or if the kids go with their local church groups to places like Honduras, Haiti, Africa. Those things cost a lot of money to be able to do. And we were looking at the need within our own community, and we said to one another, why aren't we doing this here? This is something we really desperately needed in Berks County. And we sat and the group agreed. And so we moved forward on developing Little Acts of Love. Partnering with initially with the church out of Hamburg, Zion Church, where their youth were already coming into our community and actually doing this type of work. And we just worked with them a little bit and continued to develop our program. And since then, it's been 10 years that we've been serving in Berks County.
Awesome. Serving, what actually are some of the things you do? Now, I keep hearing, repairing people's homes to, make them better.
Well, the people that we're helping, first of all, are people who can't afford to pay for a contractor to come in their home. Okay. We look to help people who have a very low income, which is right now for a single person is somewhere in the $18,000 a year range. And that incrementally goes up, but as the federal guidelines go, the increase is very minimal each year. And typically when you're living on that small amount of money, you really have to decide where your money's going to go. And unfortunately, in most cases, especially in the Reading area, homeowners insurance is not on the top of their list of things to purchase because food and medication really are priority over that. And a lot of the homeowners we're helping are people who are 65 and older, who really can't do some of these things themselves anymore. They may never had those skills, or because of health issues, really can't, climb that ladder anymore. They can't, they're uncomfortable going up to pave that high ceiling. Okay. But these are homes that are within the Berks County area. Majority are in the Reading area, because certainly that's where there's a tremendous amount of need, because you have a lot of homes in a smaller space that makes it for a larger demographic that needs our help. But as far as the repairs that we do, the repairs really vary upon what the homeowners are looking at. Sometimes there's things we have to say no to, but for the most part, it's painting. It's repairing of something as simple as a leaky faucet. Okay. There's also drywalling that we've done, patching up holes. We've also built ramps for some folks who have had needs to safely get out of their home. Not so much in Reading, because the properties in the city don't allow for that easily. Okay. But when we've been able to do something, it's been at the rear of the property rather than the front. We actually had one home where we built a connector ramp from a back door to a back sidewalk because of the slope of the yard. There was an area that was more of a step down, and then you had to climb back up into the yard. Okay. So we were able to build a ramp that was a smooth access to the back alley, so that particular homeowner was able to get into a car to go to doctor's appointments. She was 95 years old, and her daughter was caring for her. So it just made a huge difference for them, because now they don't have to worry about the $700 monthly bill for specialized transportation. Sure. So those little things to us are just tremendous
Sure.
gifts to the people in our community.
And it's also helping families stay together at home.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, because that's part of that is our main goal, is to keep our older members of our community in their homes. A lot of people feel that they can't afford to stay there anymore. We had one particular homeowner who thought that because her husband was going into a nursing home that she'd have to sell her home, only to find out that there are safety measures in place that would allow her to keep her home. So now she had to figure out, how am I going to take care of it when he did everything? So we were able to go in and do some small things for her. She had a backyard fence that was in need of painting, and the rest of the house was absolutely beautiful, but the backyard needed some help, but she couldn't do that because that's what her husband always took care of. So with a group of volunteers, we went in and took care of that over a period of time, and she was happily and able to stay at her home now.
Fantastic. Older clientele. Now let's talk about the younger clientele. The Blessingburg summer camps. Totally different end of the spectrum. Talk to us.
That's what got us all started. Our primary focus for Little Acts of Love was to offer the summer service camps. A lot of groups travel. Like I said, they will go anywhere from Africa to, pick a place, anywhere from Africa to Venezuela to Mexico to Puerto Rico, Texas. We're always looking to go somewhere. And one of the things that we felt when we sat around the tables in the beginning, that it's really important for us to instill that sense of community in our youth, and to give them that sense that it's important to give elsewhere, but we also have to take care of our own neighbors in our own community, our own neighborhoods, whether it be, coming in to volunteer from the countryside of Berks County, or you're coming to volunteer from the city of Reading. Our youth come together right now. We're working with a local college, working with Penn State Berks. They'll come and they'll stay with us. They'll usually arrive on a Sunday evening and work with us for 4 or 5 days, Monday through Friday. Penn State provides the housing and the meals while they're with us. They even send them off with a box lunch so that they don't have to worry about leaving the job sites while they're doing their tasks. And they work under the supervision of their adult leaders. So whatever their adult leaders' skills are, that's how we pick their jobs that they'll be working on that week. So if I have a leader that's coming in that is a master carpenter, I'm going to find a front porch that needs to be replaced. I'm going to find something that needs to be built. If I have somebody who can do some gardening, or I know how to paint by number, we'll find some simple painting projects for you to do. But we're not going to give them that carpentry project, because we don't want that to be something that is going to be overwhelming for them. And we also want it to be a good experience for both the youth and the homeowner. Because one of the things that we tell the students that we're working with is that when we're going out to do all of these projects, we are an invited guest. Even though we're there to do a service, we are a guest in somebody's home, and we need to respect the homeowners. So if they're not comfortable with a color for their home, we're not going to use that color. If they're not comfortable with something that they, with someone who doesn't have the skills to do the job, we're not going to invite that person in who can't do that job, because we want it to be a positive experience for everybody.
Now, if this is tugging, I know this is tugging at the heartstrings of some people right now. They either have relatives, father, mother, somebody that this could affect them. How can we get involved as a community? Those that don't know Little Acts of Love, how can we help as a community?
Well, there's several ways to help. First of all, if you know of somebody, if there's a neighbor that you know of that really could use some help, there's an application on our website under the homeowner tab. And at the bottom, the application is in both English and Spanish. You just have to click the correct link to get the application to print out, fill it out, send it back to us with the requested documentation that goes with it. We do only work with homeowners. We've had some folks ask, well, I'm in a trailer and I'm in a trailer park. Those situations really aren't things that we're able to do, because while you own that home itself, you don't own the land around it. And often the projects they're asking us to do are involving the land around it.
Longer term presence.
Well, yes, and yeah, because we've had some of them that were beyond what would be done within the home. So, and also we have to look at those, because sometimes there's things that we can do, but they're not always something that we are able to handle. And we're not afraid to tell them that either,
Gotcha.
because we certainly don't want to give somebody false hopes that we're going to come in and do something that really is not within our means.
Okay.
But as far as helping, there's also the opportunity to volunteer through your employers. Some employers offer and encourage volunteerism within their staff. Sometimes they even offer paid time off to do it. Okay. Recently this summer we worked with a company who had their volunteers work with us for 2 days. And they went out and they helped to prepare all the summer projects for us so that when the teens came in with their leaders, all the preparation was done.
Ready to go.
They were ready to go and take it on. Like I said, in the camps, you know, if there's somebody who's interested to help us with that, we're looking for site supervisors, people to go around to check out the different jobs that we do. And they're not always within walking distance. Okay. You know, you may have to drive from point A to point B, but really we want to make sure that the leaders have the materials they need, they have the tools they need. If they have questions about what they're doing, somebody to answer those questions. And also to talk to the homeowner, because the other piece of what we do while we're there to fix the home and to improve the living environment, it's also time to talk to the homeowner too. So we encourage youth to do that, and our volunteers that would come in to help us out, we'd encourage them to do that as well. And there's always short-term projects. Some of our projects are rather large and not always as big as this one we did with the Home Depot Foundation, but it's something that can be done in several hours. Okay. So if you have a small group, if you belong to you know, a service group within the community, if you have a home church that has a mission-oriented focus, sometimes they'll have mission teams or they want to start a home assistance program, we'd love to talk with you. Great. We're fortunate because we've connected with several different community churches that have some very specific type of skills that they're really good at. And we know that when some of those projects come up, we know that we can reach out to them to ask for their help with those things. Right.
So you have people that are in need, you have your volunteers ready to go. Can people also make donations?
Absolutely, absolutely. Donations are really what keep us going. I mean, we look for grants, we look for funding wherever we can. And if you know of a source like that, if your employer offers something like that, sometimes some of those grants are very specific to companies, and the only way that you can apply for them is through an invitation. Okay. We would love to be invited for something like that because of what we're doing really requires as much support as we can. We don't have we're not involved with any of the major funders in our community. So we don't have that source to rely upon. Okay. So we're always looking for grants and supports in other ways.
How about supplies? If say, working on a big project and we have surplus, would that be something you might or might not be in? Would it be worth reaching out to you for that, or maybe not?
No, go ahead. Yeah, our problem is that we don't have storage space or something like that. We're still working out some details and locating a new storage facility. For our equipment and things. But as far as having materials and supplies, that's something that you have to have enough space to keep that kind of inventory on hand. Okay. So we really want to try, what our goal is to be is to keep it that we're only purchasing what we need and then not having the excess to be concerned about storing, because then that limits us in what we can do otherwise. But as far as financial donations, you can easily make a financial donation through our website at littleactsoflove.net, or could send that via mail to our P.O. Box 120, Warnersville, Pennsylvania.
One thing that you want to leave somebody with? Go ahead.
One thing. I think it's really important that, you know, we look beyond ourselves. Part of what we're really impressed upon doing through Little Acts of Love is to have youth to become very strong leaders in our community. And the only way we can do that is by building those skills in them. And if we help them to build confidence, if we make them caring, compassionate members of our society with a sense of community, our next generation is going to do phenomenal things for our world. And if we could start that on a local level, we would love to have those leaders be part of what we're doing. I just think it's really critical that we have that skill, and it's also important that we also start looking beyond ourselves. We start looking, you know, at our neighbors. We become a very self-focused society just because the technology has driven us in that way, and we've not paid attention as much to the people in the world around us.
Sure.
So if we would just take a minute to kind of look around us and to see what neighbor might have a need, what neighbor might have a problem. And if it's something that you yourself can do something about, that's great. But if it's something that they need a little bit more help with, please reach out and give us a call.
Fantastic.
We'd be happy to take a look and see what we can do. We can't guarantee that we can help everyone, but we will certainly do our best. And if we know some other way that we can help, we don't hesitate to connect them with other resources.
Great. Alice, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Willa.
Thank you, Alice and Tony. That wraps it up for this episode. If you want to make your life easier, keep following the current. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.